living here in beautiful Beijing. Today with me, I have two ladies who work for a project here in Beijing called Furry Tales. Do you guys want to tell our listeners a little bit about what you do?
Yes, so basically, we started out over a year ago now. Elizabeth and I used to work with another rescue organization, and then on the side, we started doing a lot of independent rescues for cats. And then about a year ago, we just went, let's start a rescue organization of our own. And
Wow.
so we have lots of dog and cat rescues. We've even had a couple of people get in contact us with about like, rabbits and a few other stranger animals that you could find here in Beijing. But we primarily specialize with dogs and cats.
So Elizabeth, could you tell us where you're from and how long you've been living in China?
Yeah, so I'm from St. Paul, Minnesota, and I've been in China for about 6 years. So I first started out in Zhuhai in the south for 2 years, and that's when I rescued my first dog. That was probably around like 2017. And then, yeah, moved to Beijing 4 years ago, I guess almost 5 years ago. So, yeah, that's a little bit about
That's a
me.
great story. And Sorsha, I just realized your name is Smith. I'm a Smith too. Could you tell us a little bit about where you're from and how your China experience?
Yeah, so basically, I'm from Dunshaughlin, County Meath in Ireland. It's one of Elizabeth's favourite places in Ireland, so it's great. And then I moved here to Beijing in 2016. So I haven't really lived anywhere else. Like I've travelled around and that kind of thing, but I primarily stuck out here.
So you are both obviously animal lovers. That must be why you got into this. At what time did Furry Tales start? What is the story, Elizabeth, this time? What's the story of how Furry Tales got started?
Yeah, so as Sorsha mentioned before, we were in the rescue community already. We were doing some rescues on the side. And Sorsha and I just happened to meet each other because she was going on holiday and she needed someone to look after her foster dog. So
Mhm.
I took that foster dog, and that foster dog was actually the sister of my dog, my adopted dog. And then she returned and she got the dog back. And then I always looked at her WeChat moments, and she always was rescuing these cats. So
Mm.
at the very beginning of COVID, I found a kitten in the dumpster. And I remembered she likes cats. She's a cat lady. Let me message her. I knew nothing about cats. And then I messaged her, and she helped me with that. And she took her to the vet, and the rest is history. We just became best friends. We became neighbors, roommates. Now we're rescue partners. The rest is history. Yeah.
Sorsha, could you tell us, is this something you did back home in Ireland also? Because this seems like very important to you. You seem to have been doing this for a long time.
Yeah, so all the animals that we've gotten back home for like our family animals, they've all been like rescue dogs and cats. And there's actually a rescue organization in Ireland called Dogs Trust. So they primarily specialize in dogs. So I used to go there and I used to do a lot of like fundraising, volunteer work, and everything, a lot of socialization. Because most of the times it was a big thing for myself and Elizabeth to go into the foster side of things. Because one of the things that I noticed back home is if they're not used to being in a household, it's a lot more difficult for them to kind of like acclimatize and actually kind of like move to the next step. Whereas like if you're getting the pictures of them, asleep on the sofa or like running around with neighborhood dogs and this kind of thing, or, at a social event or something, people go, oh wow, that dog looks amazing. Like they're really well socialized, they're really well trained. We want to go and adopt them.
Mm. So if people, a lot of the people who watch this show, they live in Beijing. So if they wanted to get a hold of you, what's the best way that they could do that? Either of you.
Yeah, the best way would probably be through WeChat. If they do have that special device, they can contact us on Instagram. We get a lot of DMs on Instagram. We have a TikTok account up and running now. But yeah, Instagram, WeChat, definitely the main methods of communication. We not only tell people you don't have to just adopt from us, you don't have to foster. There are other ways you can get involved, right? We're always looking for volunteers. You can help us with event planning, merchandise design, foster interviews, adoption interviews. You can also donate, right? So we can continue the lovely work that we do. And also just share a poster, right? So if you can't do all of those things, at least you could just, hit that forward button and get the word out about adopting rather than purchasing an animal. So multiple ways that you can help us. And yeah.
I'll make sure to put the QR code up on the screen. Yes, Sorsha.
Yeah, we also have a WeChat channel as well. Elizabeth's the one that's been making all the content and everything for the videos recently. So if you're liking those, they're all to her good work. Um, and like there is the message notification and everything on that as well. So you can get through to the WeChat channel if you're able to see that and you don't have, say, like the poster with one of our QR codes on it.
You know, fostering sounds like it would be a lot of fun for someone who doesn't already have like a lot of pets. So like you guys need foster parents to basically take kittens and keep or puppies, dogs in their home. So temporary pets in your house. That sounds like a win-win to me.
Right, definitely.
Yeah, like I think at one point I've had like over 28 animals in the apartment. Elizabeth has a smaller apartment and she's had like over 10.
At the same time, 28
at the
in
same
the
time.
same time. Wow.
Yeah. I've had like
Did your neighbors
cats,
say, "What's
puppies.
that scratching sound?"
Probably.
We have it kind of like quite well managed because Elizabeth and I kind of like came up with a system and everything beforehand. And then like, you know, it's all the case of bribing the neighbors when it comes to all the holidays of like, oh, Merry Christmas, here's a present, or knowing your neighbors that have animals and, you know, giving them like animal treats and stuff like that to be like, oh, you've got animals too, and kind of like creating that relationship has been like a really big help. So my neighbors have found it like really funny. They're like, oh, you're bringing in another one.
Well, why don't we, each of you, tell us your favorite rescue story so that our listeners have an idea of what the animals may be experiencing. Elizabeth, could you tell us a little bit about your favorite rescue story?
Oh gosh, I mean, there've been so many. I mean, we've rescued about probably 200 animals,
Wow.
and so there's so many that really touch your heart. And I'm not just going to say Dahlia's story because you adopted her, but that one, it really did touch me because she was, you know, I rescued her on the top of my roof, and I just heard a little meow, right, in distress, and I made sure it was none of my cats, none of my 6 cats. And then I just kept hearing it. I kept hearing it. I opened the door. I looked around everywhere. I couldn't see anything. So I returned back home and I heard it again. And I went back outside. I checked and nothing. So then I went a third time. And for some reason, I just happened to look up and I saw her on the roof and her mom was there too. And so she was just, you know, hanging there and kind of struggling. She eventually got herself up on this little pole and then scampered on the roof. But I just thought, oh, she's so small. She's, you know, just, she's adorable, right? What can I do? So I took my TNR trap and I put it on my roof and I waited over 12 hours to try and catch her. And luckily, she happened to wander in. I heard it close and I found my neighbor's ladder. I took it and I climbed up it and I took the cage down. And I was thankful it was her that climbed in and not her mom, because I don't want to leave any baby out there before I take the mom. And then, yeah, I took her in and tried to socialize her. She was really, really scared, but she wasn't aggressive at all. But yeah, took her to the vet, got her healthy, and then I was able to catch her mom a few weeks later. And I did get a little bit of, on Instagram, on social media, I did get a little bit of pushback. You know, you took the baby and you didn't put her back out there. Well, no, I'm definitely not going to put the baby back out there when she can be socialized, right?
Also, when it's like minus whatever degrees Celsius.
Yes, right.
Like -10.
Yes, it's freezing. Her hair has been cut off, which was quite strange as well. And then, yeah, so I caught the mom and they said, I can't believe you're going to put the mom back out there. Well, the mom had sent me to the hospital with a bite. So I needed the rabies jabs. So that whole experience was pretty memorable, but that's probably the one of my most favorite ones. Yeah.
Well, she's doing very well. She's grown considerably. Sorsha, your story?
Oh, I can't believe you put me on the spot for just one.
I know, there's so many.
Well, we're going to invite both of the ladies, for the people watching, back onto the show, and you can tell us more stories later.
Sounds good. Let's see, probably one of the most recent ones and everything, actually. So Elizabeth and I have been in contact with somebody who, you know, has an awful lot of animals in a better situation than being outside and everything, you know, the weather, not being able to be fed and this kind of stuff. And he loves them. Like, he has over 200 dogs and that kind of thing, and he knows them all by name. So like that, like, he's fully committed to this. And like, you know, he's not literate and stuff, so you have to always send him like the audio messages, which is a bit more difficult for me because like my Chinese isn't great. But we first met him probably about a year ago, and through the help of a friend of Elizabeth's, we were able to like slowly convince him to let us take out 4 cats. And the cats were adopted, and he got to see the families and everything that they were adopted to, and it kind of like gave him the confidence to get them all adopted out a bit more. So the last time we went back, I think it was like, was it October or something like that? And we took, I think it's like 16 or 18 animals. And that was like 5 cats. The rest of them were all dogs. One of them was like a whippet litter. Basically, we had the mom and the dad. And then the puppies and everything to do it. But then we had, there's this one dog, Boone, who I just completely fell in love with. I always get the breed wrong. So Elizabeth's always giving out to me over getting it wrong. But we actually think that he was used for dog fighting because he had the scars all over his face. He had like a lot of hair and everything missing from like certain areas that were very stereotypical of dog fighting. And one of the things that he would do would like he would jump up and technically his paws would go either side of your hips. And it was almost like he's hugging you. And initially I was like, oh my God, that's so cute. And then realized, oh, why he does it, because that's one of the first positions that dogs go into for the dog fighting, so that they can basically pin the other dog down, start snapping at their faces and that kind of thing. And we've actually had him in specialized training for the last 3 months, and the difference in him has been amazing. He's gone from like snapping at other dogs with food just being in the same room to, you know, he's sitting, he's like basically circling and then twirling and doing like tricks and stuff. He's socializing and playing with dogs in a way that he never would have been able to do before. So we're trying to get him somewhere where, you know, he's going to have somebody who's going to have that commitment, that's going to have the big area with the grass and everything that can, you know, just love him up really. But just seeing the difference from day one to how he is today has been phenomenal.
Well, thank you both for coming on and sharing this. I'll make sure to put the QR codes up at the end of the show, and we look forward to having you on a radio program next month.
Thank you. Thank you so much for helping us get the word out. We appreciate it, Jason.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Bye.
See ya.